Hey guys, Max and Max's Models here, and wow, few things to talk about tonight, and usual kind of lighthearted stuff. Let's put it this way: I'm gonna make you feel good about your models when you see what I did to mine. Okay, for starters, Skycrane has been fighting me all the way. I get it; it's a mid 1960s mold. It's probably got pretty old by the time this one I bought came along 15, 20 years later. So I get it. There's some flash on tiny little 1/72 scale parts. All part of model building, especially when you love to build the older models like I do. But some stuff just didn't fit worth crap. The windshield, which broke way too easily, the bottom down by the pilot's right knee, where that little lower window's that snapped off. And so here's the short story. First off, let me start off with this. If you build this kit, my recommendation is build the cockpit, fit it, and put the fuselage together, and don't put anything on it at all. No accoutrements until you have completely puttied and sanded and gotten the fuselage smooth. Because I kind of got ahead of myself. I thought this would be an easy thing, straight line seams and stuff. No, it's been anything but easy. It's taking 3 putty sanding sessions to get the nose, to get that big seam to disappear. The one across the top still really hasn't, although it's getting better. And I removed the engines. I'm not really too worried about the area that goes under the engines because they're so big. They cover so much. But the underbelly area, that whole thing's been hard to make go away. Wow, this turned out to be a little more of a battle than I expected. And I'd already put on a lot of the smaller parts, some of which, like the engines, I pulled off. But I wouldn't follow the instructions so much as I would figure out a build plan, how you want to do it. But get that fuselage and that windscreen taken care of first. That would be my advice. With the cockpit completely seated in there. And I wouldn't put the little backward-facing flight engineer in there until all that's done. That way you can tape it off more easily. But I have finally made some progress on that. And the same goes actually with that little pod, the universal pod, which is also a medevac pod. By the way, one of our Chris's said they used those when he was in the Army. He was familiar with them, although they used them a lot for storage. Well, you know what? I'm gonna talk about that in more detail. Hopefully, he'll send me some pictures if he's got any. But I do know he said they had like the X-ray units and stuff in the medical pods, so they could fly it out there. But going down the rabbit hole on that. And there were different pods. There's the one with the rounded corners we see, the universal pod. But apparently the Crane also had a bunch of like really boxy conic square types. But sorry. Okay. I'm just going to stop there. We'll talk about that at the live stream in probably nauseating detail. But what I'm getting at is that the Crane has been quite the challenge. And I don't want to get kit fatigue. I've broken a lot of little parts trying to do things with them. And you do a teeny little 1/72 scale parts. So to make matters worse, after I thought I had everything done, I finally had the nose and everything, all like it was disappearing, and I had to handle it to do a couple of things with it. And the whole rear end was completely hardened for over 24 hours, but the front of the helicopter, where I just repainted, even though I've left it time, I didn't leave it enough, and I was holding by the rear. But you do this without thinking about it. You wind up grabbing it where it's convenient, and sure enough, I left a couple of whopper thumbprints on top of it. And as soon as I was about to put it down, I was like, you could just tell, uh-oh, I think my thumb stuck to the helicopter. You know what you did. The only saving grace there is that the top needs more sanding and filing anyway, so it's not going to be that big of a deal. But the windshield broke again because I had to putty up the seams because they just could not be ignored. So, but believe it or not, it's actually starting to take shape. It'll be kit model rescue, but it'll come out okay when it's. It won't be bad when it's finished, but we're at that ugly middle part where everything shows, and it's not going to be what I'd hoped it would be. And the artillery piece also had a problem. The instructions show that you have the elevation quarter moons that go on both sides, and that's what the gun cranks up and down on. And the barrel and recoil, the tube and the recoil system sit on like a chassis. But when you put and I follow the instructions, when you put the chassis in there, it won't fit between the elevation quarter moons. And so I'm like, I wound up having to just go in there and just cut out some of the chassis so that it would go down. Otherwise, the barrel is going to be articulated above maximum. Guys, if you built that little field piece, let me know if I skipped a step or something, because it and if I forced it between them and spread them out, they went out like that, which they're not supposed to do. It's, which is sad, because it's a really neat little kit, side kit, the artillery piece. So I got the blades painted black. I'm gonna put the yellow tips and the white and red tips on the tail rotor. That's going to be a bit of a trick, because most pictures I've seen of the Skycrane show, it's got that white with the red in center. So that means tape tail doing white. Then when all that's done, or then either using some red decal line or something to make making those tail rotor markings can be a little tricky. And with the main blades, of course, you're dealing with yellow, which is always so much fun. Light coats, lots of light coats. So, and it's got that 6-bladed rotor. So that's just a lot of grunt work. But it's worth it to have a nice looking helo, because when that thing's set out with the black blades and the yellow tips and the markings on the tail rotor, it really does help it pop, because the whole thing's pretty much olive drab otherwise. So that's where we got with that. And one other thing, I saw a movie today I'd never seen before with Robert Mitchum, made in, I believe it was 1964, Man in the Middle. And it's kind of a proto A Few Good Men. It's a military court-martial trial type movie, with Keenan Wynn playing the Army's oldest second lieutenant or first lieutenant. Anyway, I won't ruin the movie in case you want to go watch it. It was actually, I kind of enjoyed it, but I like Robert Mitchum. And it had old Elena Troyes in there. What's his name? Frances Nguyen, however you say her name. But when I was watching it, I was noticing that the Jeeps looked accurate. They're all Willis MBs. It's supposed to be like 1944, late 44, 45. He come in from Europe, been injured in D-Day or something, so it's probably early 45. The war's still going on in the Pacific, and the vehicles all looked accurate. Uniforms I'm not 100% sure of, but I was like, it's nice when you make a movie 19 years after the war, all this equipment's still around. Although I'm not sure about the uniforms, but plus they're supposed to be in the China, Burma, India theater, and they're all wearing their khakis with the coats and everything. Whew, that had to be hot. But I did see something that was very believable is one of the characters is killed in a Jeep accident, which was a serious problem. I had one of those Jeeps. They're very top heavy. I was amazed how many GIs were killed in them. That was completely plausible, and especially on those roads. And they said he was speeding to get where he had to be, which you get much above 35 in those things, you're taking your life in your hands. But I also noticed they had that quad that with like a Canadian military truck in the background. I was thinking, maybe it's just what they had on hand and we got lucky, but they look like they went through a lot of trouble to get the vehicles right, and which is always a nice touch. And maybe they were just there. But then I looked at, I was like, most Army Jeeps, and it was the number always started with 20 if it was a Willis Jeep during the war. And this one had some different numbers on there. I was like, I wonder if the China, Burma, India theater, the markings were different. And I found some pictures from the CVI, and a lot of the Jeeps didn't have any markings on them, but those that did, looked like they began with 20. And it just got me wondering if, it's really hard to reference some things. When you're building a model in a certain theater of war, if you don't have some good reference photos, you're doing a lot of guesswork. I mean, how many of us painted our model airplanes or cars just based on the picture on the box art? Because that's all we had to go on before they put paint guides in them and everything. And so that was my modeling day. And I did get a little bit of work done on the F-100. Got a few things, a little progress made, but that was supposed to be for the Vietnam build, so it's kind of low priority. Steve called, I was chatting with him, and I realized I got like 9 open kits. Now, there's nothing in the office right now because the crane's been moved out to the Tarbis, which is where I spent most of the day. I'm pretty much done with a couple of things over there. I do sometimes this week I plan to finish the Arizona because that's just been sitting there too long and it's too close to being done. You start reaching for one thing and then another, and you kind of lose track. And where did I put that paint? I can't get a classic example. I know I had a box of white latex gloves in here to work with. I couldn't find them, and it should be in that drawer or on that table. It's the only 2 places they ever lived. I was like, where are they? And my wife and I tore this place apart and went out in the TARDIS, wasn't out there. So, and we've all done something like this. I'm in here and I'm going, okay, well, look around, look around. You know what? I'm just going to systematically go through. I'm looking on the bookshelf because, the box might be shaped like a book. I checked all the models that are stacked up in case I'd stuck it in there somehow. And as I'm going through the books, I forgot I had used it for when I put that, when Sarah Jane sent me that operations room thing, I had to have something, a riser for my models. And that's what I'd used it for. Like, oh, yeah. So I replaced it with a model. And I was like, it's got to do a model proud to know that it's been pulled out of the stash because it has the right dimensions to be used as a riser, and it's far enough down the packing order of models to be built that it can sit there for a while. Oh, yeah, this is how my mind works. So anyway, guys, a lot of exciting things going on, and we'll talk about the Tarhay more at the live stream. I would like to have, by the time we do the live stream, I would love to do the present to the world the finished Arizona and the finished Tarhay. In fact, that's going to be my goal, to do the grand reveal on the live stream. So guys, take care of yourselves, and as always, model on. So take care of your sail. Take care of your sail. Take care of your sails, guy. Ken, take care of your sail. I know you bought a new sail for your boat.